Vaal Orbs and corruption. When you use a Vaal Orb on an item, you corrupt the item. And when an item is corrupted, it's locked and can't be changed ever again. Then why would you corrupt an item? There are some cool outcomes that you can get from doing this that can only be done through corrupting the item. And in this video, we'll go through all those possibilities. First, we have your equipable rare gear, where nothing can happen. One more socket can be added if the item can have sockets, ignoring the socket limit for the item. We can add a corruption modifier, and this will not replace or remove other implicits on the item. And implicits are the mods that you can see on an item when the item is white. It can also choose either your prefixes or your suffixes and re-roll them completely, changing the mod and tier. Then we have the unique items, where nothing can happen. One more socket can be added and a corruption modifier can be added. That's the same as the rare items. Then we have the fourth outcome, which is very different to the rare items. This outcome can increase or lower at least one affix value by 22%. This can exceed the regular rolls on the item. If you take a look at the item to the right here, you can see that one value is higher and another one is lower than it can be on the item regularly. So what happens when this outcome is chosen when you corrupt your item? It first divines all the values on the item, then it takes one or more affix, where more than one affix is increasingly more unlikely, and individually multiplies it with a value between 0.78 and 1.22. Each individual affix gets its own multiplier, so one can get 0.88 and another one can get 1.11. Then it takes that result and round it either up or down. Regular rounding rules apply here, so if a value ends up being 53.68, it would round up to 54, and if it ends up being 4.44, it would round down to 4. Just to remind you, these values can exceed the regular values on the unique item, and the value does not need to be close to perfect to be able to exceed the value, because if this outcome gets chosen, the value will be re-rolled before applying the multiplier. Now we're on to gems, where nothing can happen. You can increase or lower the amount of sockets by 1. This can't exceed the maximum of 5 sockets. It can increase or decrease the level by 1. This can exceed the maximum level of a gem. So a gem can go from 20 to 21. And it can also add or remove quality. A little note here, this is one of the exceptions to an item not being able to be changed when it's corrupted. You can still use your uncut skill gems to level up your corrupted skill gem. And now we have the jewels, where nothing can happen. It can add a suffix or prefix, so you can have 5 modifiers on a jewel if you get lucky. It can add a corruption modifier, and it can also remove a suffix or prefix. And here we have the Waystones, where nothing can happen. It can increase or decrease in tier. Important to note here is that this is the only way to get a tier 16 Waystone. You Vaal Orb your tier 15 Waystone and it can turn into a tier 16 Waystone. If you Vaal Orb a magic Waystone, it can turn into a rare, adding a random amount of prefixes and suffixes, up to a maximum of 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. If you use a Vaal Orb on a rare Waystone, it can add more modifiers than what you regularly can craft onto a Waystone. So you can go above 3 suffixes and 3 prefixes, but it will always fill up the prefixes and suffixes to 3 before adding more modifiers to go above the regular amount. I've seen a maximum of 9 modifiers on a map, but it can also be 7 or 8. A cool thing that it can do is remove all your prefixes and turning them into suffixes, adding the same amount of prefixes removed to the amount of suffixes. So you only have suffixes on a map. You can also do it the other way around, removing all your suffixes and adding the same amount of removed suffixes to your prefixes. And finally, we have the Omen of Corruption. To use these, you put them in your inventory and right-click them so that they light up like this. If you don't do that, it won't be used when you use your Vaal Orb. You can turn it off by clicking it again. What it does is it removes nothing happens. So if you activate it, something will happen. You have just removed the nothing can happen option from the pool that it picks when you corrupt the item. That's my guide for Vaal Orbs and corruption in PoE 2. Hope you enjoyed. Please give feedback in the comment section and tell me if I've made any mistakes. I'll try and correct them and re-upload if that's the case. Hope you learned something and enjoyed watching. Subscribe, like and comment for support. Stay awesome. Thanks for watching.